There's my friend Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports as he joins us now. Now, were you at the link last night?
No, I celebrated my birthday last night, Mike. It's weird. I always go to Eagles practice on my birthday, but training camp was not in the morning. So I had to eat my cake and, kind of celebrate something.
All right. Well, I know you've been covering a lot of this team during training camp, and let's start with some of the observations. Jalen Hurts. I kept getting text messages last night about how good Hurts looked, and Hurts looks really good. Sirianni keeps saying command of the offense. So what are your observations so far of what you're seeing from Jalen Hurts?
So he was one of my 5 standouts from the first week of camp, Mike. And what I liked about Jalen was not the command of the offense part. I still think that's going to come over time. But watching him throw the ball, watching him get rid of the ball quick and making quick decisions is what I've been impressed with so far with Jalen. Oh, by the way, he led on about that knee injury last year. It definitely affected him because he looks like the 2022 version or any previous version prior to last year. Jalen looks 100% fit.
Well, that's good news to hear. I want to ask you about that then, because I do find it to be interesting that we kept hearing about an injury last year. And then after the season was over, we heard nothing. There wasn't like, hey, he had knee surgery or ankle, nothing. It was as if he was never hurt last year.
It was weird, right? Because we were always under the impression that he had a knee injury, the bye week happened, and it gave him enough time to get better. I think it reoccurred last year. And he always said, well, I'm not wearing a brace, I'm wearing a sleeve. Well, did the brace come back on? Did we not care if the brace or sleeve came back on because everything was spiraling out of control with this football team? So, I'll tell you what, Mike, at the end of the year, I don't want to say he was limping, but he just wasn't walking like himself. And I just think this was an injury that extended rest would have helped him.
I had people that were there last night just kept texting me, man, Hurts looks much better. He looks much more fluid, much better. He seemed to be the story. What about some of his weapons out there not named Smith or Brown?
So, obviously, we're talking about the wide receiver 3 position, right? I put Britton Covey as one of my standouts from this week. And more so because of the separation he's getting at the line. I think he's a reliable target for Hurts. Hurts likes Britton Covey. Hurts has said so himself. Covey has said so. This is a guy that Hurts likes. This is a guy that Hurts is pushing for. I always say he's the leader in the clubhouse, but he is the leader in the clubhouse for that job. It's still early. I thought Paris Campbell's looked fine. I think the Eagles have been impressed with him. I think John Ross has looked fine for what I've seen. Johnny Wilson's getting reps with the first team, but I would say Britton Covey's leading right now.
I know Covey is an interesting guy because he's been here. Some of the other guys, Smith and Wilson, are rookies. John Ross, Paris Campbell. There's not really a guy other than Covey that's gotten reps before with Jalen Hurts. So I guess that does make him an interesting candidate there. Mekhi Becton and that right guard situation. Tyler Steen has the ankle injury. Has Tyler Steen essentially been Wally pipped, or is he back and right back at right guard when he's healthy?
Can you be Wally pipped if you never gotten the job?
Fair point.
Yeah, we were talking about that this week. Was he Wally Pipp? So I think that's a good analogy there, Mike. But I think Becton's holding his own, right? I still think the get off the snap needs to improve. But again, he's a big guy, 6'7", 363 pounds. But once he gets his hands in place, he's tough to get past. Unless you're Jalen Carter, it's very hard to get past Mekhi Becton anyway. And I like how the Eagles are throwing Jalen Carter at him because I think it's helping Becton. I think Becton, they want to see when that job. Everybody says, well, don't count on Steen. I'm like, I can't count on Steen because Steen ain't playing. So I think this is the opportunity Becton needed.
I don't imagine him giving up that spot. That would be my take, right? Just a big, massive road grading guy. I know he's bigger than most offensive guards, but him and Lane Johnson playing together on that side, man, that's a lot of talent.
And Cam Jurgens is a big guy too.
Not to mention Dickerson and Mailata, it's a massive offensive line. And, last year you had Kelsey. Obviously, you're going to be a little weaker at that spot, but you said Juergen's a big guy. He should be more than capable there. But to have Mekhi Becton, if he can win that job, I think that really gives you an exciting possibility to run right behind that interior line. Juergens, Dickerson, and Becton. That's a lot of mass.
You know what it feels like, Mike? Remember when the Eagles had Hank Fraley and they had Shawn Andrews? Remember they drafted Shawn Andrews? He was going to be a future tackle, and they said, well, we can't keep this guy off the field. He's our right guard. And that first game against the Giants, before he injured his foot, was out for the season, he dominated, right? I'm not saying that could be Mekhi Becton, but maybe a variant of him.
I think that's a good observation by you, Jeff Kerr. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, has 5 standouts from last week. You can check that out at cbssports.com. We're going to look at a couple of the other ones that people are talking about. Nolan Smith, man. It seems like is he the Mr. Lehigh situation? Is he like having just a good camp, or is this going to translate to the regular season?
So it's funny because I talked to Nolan Smith this week, and he was telling us about he went to a peculiar place this offseason to train during that 6-week break. He normally goes home to Georgia, but he wanted to go somewhere where it was unfamiliar. He went to California and spent money in expensive places because that's out of his comfort zone. But that's where he trains with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is one of the people he trains with, and he's getting some intel from him. So, and look, I don't want to say Nolan Smith is the camp standout, but he isn't going against Lane Johnson all the time here. He's going against Fred Johnson because the Eagles are taking it easy on Lane. But he's getting to the quarterback, and I think Jalen Carter's really helping him with that.
Well, you wrote about 2 key members of the defensive line and their contractual situations. I wonder what the playing time situations are going to be with those guys. Josh Sweat. You wrote about Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff. I was talking the other day about what kind of playing role does Nolan Smith, what kind of role is legitimately there for him?
I mean, right now I would say Nolan Smith is pretty much the number 3 edge rusher, right? They want to play Bryce Huff as much as they can, but this is where I've been bothered the past week, Mike. I don't know if you talked about this on the show or not, but you heard Vic Fangio's comments on Bryce, right?
Yes. That about him stopping the run.
Yeah. Do you care if he stops the run if he gets 12 sacks?
Well, it's funny you say that because the sack number is the one that jumps out. But is he able to be – no, you say that. It's a fair question, but I think if that game where they're running right at you and he's unable to do it, that's when it comes out.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's where Josh Sweat and Milton Williams come in. Maybe that's where they rotate, and maybe Huff is a guy you pay.
I say this, Jeff. We were talking about the most important players not named Jalen Hurts yesterday, and I put Bryce Huff on that list, and I say it like this. Hassan Reddick had almost 30 sacks in the 2 seasons he was here. If Bryce Huff is a drop-off from what Reddick gave you, what does that mean for your defense?
That's what I said. You're taking a gamble by not paying Hassan Reddick. You had every right to do that, and you shipped that problem off to the Jets. Hassan Reddick was going to get paid, but in terms of on-field production, what does this league see that we don't with Hassan Reddick? I see the sack numbers are high, the pressure numbers are high. It's one of the best pass rushers in football. Is it age? Is that it?
Yes, I would think, Jeff, and you could probably interject on this. I think he got a contract and now wants a big extension when he's coming up on his 30th birthday. So it's not that he's a declining player today. It's I don't want to sign you for the extension when I'm going to get the declining years. It's almost like the Eagles say, hey, I got the best years at the discount. I don't want the down years on the inflation.
Exactly. And you know what, Mike? I think this is the problem in sports, right? He was a late bloomer. He was pretty much a bust until 2020. And he had the big game against the Giants, and everything just kind of – he's been good ever since. And, he's had 4 straight double-digit sack seasons. He's been able to stay on the field. And for leverage with the Eagles, he goes, "Wait a minute, who was the guy who knocked out Brock Purdy? Oh wait, that was me. I was the guy." And I just think he wanted a contract extension, never got it. The Jets were fools to not give him a contract extension right away. Now he's their problem, but Bryce Huff better get double-digit sacks this year. That's all I gotta say.
Yep, no, but your other point about if he doesn't stop the run and gets 12, it probably, yes, it lessens the criticism that is coming down on him. But, it also would be interesting to see. Well, if he gets 12 and a half sacks, you got what you got him here. You're getting what you brought him here for to get to the quarterback. Yeah. I don't think anybody's looking at him to be this Reggie White run stuffer and a sack artist here. I mean, it's almost one or the other from him. But that brings us up to the linebackers and how they kind of handle their role. You wrote about Nakobe Dean, and obviously the linebackers are a revolving door of guys who don't have a lot of track record, with Oren Burks being hurt and Zach Bond trying a new position, and obviously Ben Van Sumeren. What are we learning about the linebackers in camp?
Your guess is as good as mine, Mike. Right now it's Zach Bond, Devin White. Haven't done anything good, haven't done anything bad. And again, maybe that's a good thing, right? They're solid. I think they want Nakobe Dean to be a first-team linebacker, and they're mixing him in, but he's going to have to earn it. He's going to have to beat out Zach Bond and Devin White. And Ben Van Sumeren, I think, will play his way into that mix. He's getting rested.
Wait, so you think Dean is behind Bond?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
Right now, yes. I think he has to earn that job.
You wrote a lot about Quinyon Mitchell over at CBS Sports. Jeff Kerr's got a ton of Eagles coverage on, by the way.
You see what happens when I go to practice? I talk to way too many people.
Well, listen, Quinyon Mitchell, what are you seeing there? You talk to a lot of guys. Mitchell, what's he? He's been following A.J. Brown around like a little puppy dog, it seems like.
Yeah, and you know what? A.J. Brown's seeking him out. When that happened on Tuesday, those two going up against each other in one-on-ones, I thought, maybe the Eagles set that up because there's no, A.J. Brown said, you know what, let's go. And I think that's one of those iron sharpens iron things. And Quinyon's been holding his own against A.J. Went 2 for 2 against him in the one-on-ones on Tuesday. A.J. got him on slant and goal line, but A.J. Brown's really good at that. So, I think Quinyon's going to be starting on this team. I think they want him to start on this team week 1. He'd be the first week 1 quarterback to start since 1988, Eric Allen. It seems like they want him starting, and I think it's going to be a slot.
If he doesn't start, that's a disappointment. Especially if he gets beat out by Ringo or Ricks or somebody like that. I mean, not that those guys aren't good, but you drafted a guy in the first round because you saw what you had from those guys last year.
Exactly. And you know what? You have so much depth at this position. I think Ringo or Rodgers will start on the outside, and then you'll have Mitchell in the slot. But, yeah, you're right. It does seem kind of a disappointment now, especially with Cooper DeJean not here.
I was going to say, he's almost out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's not coming back for, I would assume, another 2 weeks, and he's got to get ramped back up. I think they'll take it slow with Cooper DeJean and fast with Mitchell.
Funny, and you weren't there last night, so I don't know if you heard anything or got a chance, but I got a lot of texts about Hurts, nothing about Barkley, and I'm assuming, that maybe he just
he's there.
Okay, or
yeah, he's fine. He's there.
Is that okay, though, that he's just there? Or, are we like, okay, I'll present it to you like this, Jeff Kerr. 2 years ago, you had Miles Sanders run for 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. Last year, you got 1,000 yards out of DeAndre Swift. Shouldn't I anticipate that the guy I gave $30 million to is able to outperform those two guys?
Yes. I think that's more than fair. But if you remember the last 2 years, Miles Sanders, they barely used in camp. DeAndre Swift, they barely used in camp. Remember we were talking about Kenny Gainwell's going to be RB1 for all of August, and people kept saying we don't know what we're talking about, and he was RB1 week 1. It seems like, though,
he was the starter last year, yeah.
Yeah, but it does seem like, though, they're preserving Barkley. And look, my over-under was 1,500 yards from scrimmage. If he's over 1,500, is that good?
Yeah, no, I mean that's like a 1,200-yard year, 300-yard passing season. Didn't catch the ball in the backfield last night.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Did you get what you paid for, essentially? And look, I think
Well,
Saquon. I still say Saquon is their $12.5 million decoy.
Decoy. That's a big price for a decoy.
Well, it's one of those you gotta account for him, and if you don't, we're gonna beat you in multiple ways with him. And if you do account for him, we got AJ Brown, we got Devonta Smith, we got Dallas Goedert. Pick your poison.
All right. Happy birthday to Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports. Good to have you back here, bud. It's football season. I know you're doing a lot of Phillies coverage, too, for CBS Sports. And obviously, the Eagles season is here. So we'll have Jeff back on throughout the football season to talk some football. So happy birthday to you. It's good to catch up, buddy.
Yeah. Like I had to say I'd come on this week because every time you ask me, I either had Phillies games or birthday. And I'm like, you know what? I owe Mike one. I'm coming on Friday.
It's all good, man. You know, a lot of people, I saw a lot of coverage at CBS Sports, and I was saying, man, he's got a lot happening over there. And look, the Eagles are back. Everybody's interested and appreciate your coverage. So we appreciate you jumping on Friday's edition of a Happy Hour Friday. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep, anytime, Mike.